Good morning to one and all. In this lecture, EC8551 Communication Network. Today, we will discuss the topic of Application Layer Unit-5 Third Year EC Department. Now, we move on to the Application Layer Paradigm. The layer where all the applications are found is called a application layer. The application layer enables the user, whether the human or software, to access the network, and it provides user interfaces and support for several services such as electronics mail, file access and transfer, access to system resource, the World Wide Web, and network management. In this application layer, need support more protocols to allow the application to the functions. Accordingly, we will look at an important one of these, starting with the applications. It provides services to the user. Communication is provided using a logical connections, which means that two application layers assume there is an imaginary direct connections. They can send and receive the messages. So the logical connections is established between the application layers. What are the logical connections? That is a wide area network switches, point to point wide area network, and the local area network. Finally, router. So the logical connections in between the application layer, transport layer and network layer into the sender and the receiver side. So the logical connections take place between the application layer of the computer at land research and the application layer of the server. The actual communications, however, take place through several devices and several physical channels. The service provided is an application program is called a server process. The server process run continuously waiting for another application program. So it is called as a client process. To make a connection through the internet and ask for the server, that is a server process. So the server process must be run at all the time. The client process start when the client need to receive the service. So finally, several traditional services are still using this paradigm. Example of www, that is a World Wide Web, and HTTP, FTP, SSH, email, so etc. So what are the problems or arrives? The server should be a powerful computer. So there should be several provided willing to accept the cost and create the powerful server for a specific service. So we need to client server programming. We see the client server programming. In this client or server model, the device requesting the information is called a client and the device responding to the request is called a server. The client and server process are considered to be in the application layer. Data transfer from a client to a server is referred to as an upload, and data from a server to the client is a download. So the meaning of upload, the client to the server, and the download is a server to the client. In a client and server network, the server runs a service or process Sometimes it is called a server domain. When the request from a client, it exchange messages with the client as a requested by the protocols and proceed to send the requested data to the client in the proper format. So, we discuss the application program interfacing. The application program interfacing is a set of instructions to talk with the lowest 4 layers. The application programming instruct to open a connection, send and receive the data, close the connections. It is a set of instructions to kind the application programming interfacing. The application programming interfacing has been designed for communications. There are three most common interfacing. Number one, socket interfacing. Number two, transport layer interfacing. Number three, stream. The process send messages into and receive messages from the network through a software interfacing is called a socket. So the socket is started in early 1980. It is a set of instructions that provide communication between the application layer and the operating system. The idea of the socket allows to use the set of instructions already designed in a programming languages for other source and sync. The socket is not a physical entity like a files, keyboard, etc. For example, in C, C++ or Java, we have several instructions that can read and write data to other source and sync. That is, a keyboard is a source, monitor is a sync, or file that is source or sync. So the process to process communication to a pair of socket addresses for communications like a local socket address and a remote socket address. Thank you for watching this video.